Alright, so here we are. I'm gonna first increase my resolution a little bit higher so I can get a better view of the screen. This step's optional. Make sure you've installed all your drivers and stuff like that. So I'm gonna head over to my dashboard. Okay, you can see all these tasks we have to complete. Your getting started tasks. So let's start with the first one, which is setting up Microsoft updates. So I'm just going to click OK, and there you go, task 1 completed. Number 2, setting up backup. So what you want to do is use an external hard drive, preferably 1.5 times the size of your main drive in SBS. So like if I had like a 200 gigabyte hard drive as my main installation, maybe like 300 gigs for my external hard drive. 320 is the normal size. This is an example, but so here we are in the backup wizard. I'm gonna click next. Now you gotta see I didn't hook up my drive yet, so if you don't have a drive hooked up, it's not surprised this area would be blank. So what I'm gonna go to my disk management, and if you right click my computer and go to manage, go under storage, and see disk management local, and here are all the hard drives, and here's the one I just plugged in. So initialize it. This will happen if you use something like an eSATA drive with a bracket instead of using a USB drive. It kind of confuses SBS because it thinks it's internal drive, so it won't show up in this list. So, and also, you have to format your disk before you can start using it. This exceeds 160 gigabytes unallocated. There's no file system. So I'm going to create a new simple volume. Click next, next. Assign it a drive letter. I'm going to give it a label. I'm going to call it backup. Using NTFS. You should probably perform full format instead of quick format. I'm just going to do quick because this is not a real setup. So there we go. That's ready to go. So now I'm going to go back to my dashboard. Just try it again. So I'm going to click next. And you'll see it's not none of those, because it looks like an internal drive to the computer, because it's like an eSATA drive using a SATA port on the motherboard. So I'm going to just check this. It is the drive F I just made. So this hard drive will be erased. So make sure it's blank and there's no data on it. I'm going to name it as my backup drive. It's just going to redo the formatting and the structuring. So here we go. Setting up the backup schedule. Put one for 12 p.m., one for 11 p.m. are the defaults. And then I'm just going to make sure everything's checked that I need a backup. Click apply settings. And then backup should be set up. And there you go, successful. So now that that's out of the way, here comes the trickiest and the hardest part of setting up SBS is the remote web access. So you can either do this, let the SBS do it automatically, but I prefer doing it manually. So what you have to do on your router is open port 443 for SBS Essentials and do not disable the DHCP server. SBS Essentials does not come with the role installed, and if you want to set that up, I guess I can put that in an optional video, but just remember, out of the box, it does not have the DHCP server role installed, so can't really use that. See right here saying my port isn't open yet, so I'm going to go do that in a little bit. But yeah, the main setting you have to do is open port 443 for SSL. I'm going to skip these for now, but just a little warning, don't disable DHCP server as you would in SBS standard. I'm getting this error because I set mine up during the setup. I already opened port 443, so if you want to figure out what your IP address is in your router setup, just click the little local area connection over here, system tray, bring it up, and if you click details, you can find your router IP address under default gateway, and then you can find your IP address of your server as well. So what you want to do, you want to open port 443 for the IP address of 192.168.61.128, the IPv4 address of your server. Your router IP address is usually the gateway. So I'm going to go do this real quick. You can't see it, but I'm not going to show this step because it's variable between manufacturers. D-Link has their own, Linksys has their own, Cisco, Netgear, they're all different. You can find instructions for your individual router at www.portforward.com. But I just set mine up, so I'm going to click set up your domain name now. Click next, and if you already have a domain name, you can go ahead and fill that field out. I'm just going to pretend you don't have one, so I'm going to get a new one. And that's the cool thing about SBS Essentials is you don't have to buy one. Like, well, I guess you just don't have to buy one. They give you a free SSL certificate and everything. So I guess you can choose get a personalized domain name from Microsoft. This is free if you have a live.com account or MSN, Hotmail, whatever they call it now. But if you don't, you can just click set up a new Windows Live account. See this link here. It's recommended you don't do this on the server because you shouldn't be using the browser on your server. This whole setup is actually recommended to do on a separate computer, but I was going to show how to join a computer afterwards. It doesn't really matter if you set it up here or not, but this part you should do on a different computer. I'm not going to show the actual live setup page because there's security questions and all that stuff that I don't want you to know, but it's pretty straightforward, like setting up an email address. You actually don't need to get a live email address. You can use Gmail, Yahoo, anything. You just need a live ID. You'll also notice there's a lot of security warnings about using the enhanced security mode on Internet Explorer, but like I said, you should probably do this on a workstation instead of on your actual server. IE will block most things in enhanced security mode. So I'm just going to use my live account that I already had before. I use my Gmail address. Like I said earlier, you don't need a Hotmail or live.com email address. So I'm just going to sign in with my username and password here. And I'm going to click next. So now it's connecting to the Windows Live services. I'll get to pick my domain name. Subdomain name, technically. but it's free. Don't have to buy an SSL certificate or domain, which is nice. So here you go. I already had one registered before, but I'm going to make another one just for demonstration purposes. So you just want to type in something that's easy for you to remember. You can always use a link shortener. Like here, somebody already took this, so I'm going to try something else. Nope, someone took that. So let me try my name. There you go. So yeah, basically that's how you set up the domain. And it will take about an hour or more for it to go into effect. So if you finish this wizard and it says go to the site to test it out and it doesn't work, don't worry about it. It takes about an hour for it to actually start working on external websites and external computers. Oh yeah, this part won't work if your port 443 is not open. So if you haven't done that yet, you should have already done it. If you weren't listening earlier. So there you go. It says it's ready to go, but it says you may not be able to access the site immediately. Just to show you, it won't work right away, but it'll work later on. There you go, it didn't work, but I'll try again later. Alright, so remote web access, that was the toughest part to set up. Everything else is pretty easy for me. This is the last major step. So this is how you add user accounts. So we have two. One is the administrator we made during setup, and the other is your user account we made during setup. So this would be like if you wanted to add a staff member. So I'm going to make one called John Doe. I'm going to type a password that has to meet complexity requirements. So and there we go. Make it a standard user. This is the staff member. I'm going to click next. And then you'll have your company folder. Read only means you can only read files. Read and write means you can write files. If you have one like major staff folder where everybody just saves documents, to avoid making separate document folders, you can go ahead and give them write access to. That's what I do. And there you go. The user account is set up. These are just informational things about how to use remote web access or about hard drives and storage. This one you want to set up so you can use this using your email servers. You probably don't have an Exchange server if you're using Essentials, so I'm going to choose my Gmail account. Again, these vary by mail service. Yahoo's is different, Gmail's is different. So I'm going to use Gmail here, smtp.gmail.com, the SMT port 587. I'm going to use my username and password. The address you want to send the report to. You can send it to yourself, but I'm going to just put an external separate IP address, or email address. I'm going to send a test email. And there you go. Sent to the SMTP server. I'm successful. And I'm going to check my Outlook inbox, and yeah, I got it. So, and that's basically it. Office 365 is optional if you want to set that up. I just use Open Office in-house. Avoid any licensing fees or things like that. But pretty much the end of part 2. In part 3, we'll go over how to install amazing charts and any other applications / folder shares you need to set up. Yeah, you can just read through this. I'll have to install Office 365. I'm not going to go over this part. If you want to, you can go ahead and do it. This concludes part 2 of doing the common tasks, startup tasks, when you first load SBS Essentials.